I'm all about collaboration and talking with people. But then I realized I'm all alone and I don't have anyone. Or at least I got the 12 people watching and listening. And thanks, Mom, for the like and share on Instagram. Let's get to it. Welcome! Another fabulous episode of IBF On Demand. I'm your interesting, lonely, and passionate host, Eric Wilson. You can find me at eric@ibf.org, eric@ibf.org. I'm somewhere here in my bunker in Kentucky with just my producer, Scott. Thanks, Scott. Welcome. And I also have a sponsor. Once again, it's still Arkiva. Driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. Thank you, Arkiva, a fabulous host. Been around for all the podcasts and continuing to support us and continue to support you. One other thing, if you want to collaborate, I am all about collaboration. So if you want to collaborate, please let me know. Email me, eric@ibf.org. Comment down below. Call me, text me, smoke signals, whatever it takes. Send me some information about what you want to see as future topics. This is the new year. Hey, what do you want to hear? What do you want me to talk about? Who do you want me to have as a guest? Do you have ideas for people I should interview? Maybe yourself. I'm interested in anything. I'm all about collaboration. You want me to come on your podcast? Okay. You want to come on my podcast? Okay. You want me to talk about something? All right. Let me know. I'm interested in hear from you. Said comment down below or just send me an email, eric@ibf.org. Let me know what you want to kind of direction you want to see this go this year. Right now, though, in this episode, I want to talk a little bit about CPFR, Collaborative Planning and Forecast Replenishment. Actually, it's more just about collaborative planning. Actually, it's more just about outside-in thinking. Kind of an outside-in planning is what we want to talk about. Because CPFR, it takes on a lot of different meanings depending on who you ask. I know this is a topic I brought up on LinkedIn month or so ago. We had this discussion, and I've seen someone else actually had the discussion and actually brought me into it and had some questions about CPFR as well. And they're good questions to have because there is some ambiguity with that term now. Traditionally, CPFR, Collaborative Planning, Forecast, Replenishment, it was more of a manufacturing to retail type of environment. And it was all about POS data, point of sale data, kind of was the gold standard. Walmart and a few others over the years, though, they pretty much have, hate to say, killed the word. And they made it more of just pure order management type of task that's being done. And it really doesn't have the same meaning or power that CPFR once had. But that said, what CPFR really stood for and what collaborative planning really stands for, those principles are still golden and still are the best practices today. Little history lesson on CPFR, since I'm calling it out and we use the word, and you may understand the word. So little history lesson as I know it is CPFR was really a P&G type of Walmart relationship. And by the way, there's a great article on this in the Journal of Business Forecasting from the 2010. So 23 years ago, it was the winter 2010 issue by Larry Lapide, wrote an article on CPFR. So, I mean, this process has been around for a while. And in that, he gave us a little bit of a history lesson too. So I got a little bit of these facts on this and then what I know as well. But I know CPFR was originally P&G versus and Walmart wanting to work together, specifically on the Listerine mouthwash. It was the initial product that they looked at. And it was initially called CFAR, I guess CFAR. I guess it's, pirates were term that they were doing. So it's a CFAR was the initial process they were talking about. And then later it was kind of changed to CPFR. The steps were this: information sharing, joint demand forecasting, and coordinated shipments. So it's pretty much just 3 objectives, 3 steps. We're going to share information, we're going to do a joint forecast, we're going to coordinate shipments. I said those principles still are great today. What happened over the time, though, is early development of CPFR, the Voluntary Inter-Industrial Commerce Solution, VIX, kind of embraced CPFR. They embraced it. They kind of took it over. They trademarked the name. They set standards and procedures. And like most things in the manufacturing world in the 1990s, they streamlined the process and added a whole lot of steps and made it a lot more complicated. So now it has a strict standard and guidelines and 3 times as many steps that must be adhered to qualify. And as I said, over the time, companies understood the advantages of it and started to doing their own things and started to adapt the principles without adapting all the pure standards and steps of a CPFR process. And then with Retail Link from Walmart, other types of data sharing, pressure on cost, perfect orders, some of those big box retailers that originally started actually migrated more to just an order management type of task with this. That said, I said the principles were still sound. Even then, the VIX outline is a great outline as far as here's what to do. I mean, there was a great logic and process steps, even with their outline on what to do. So there's a lot of great value in what we've learned from the 2-3 decades of the CPFR journey. But where it goes today is, I said, I want this to be more about collaborative planning or more about the outside in type of planning that we really see is the next evolution of not only demand planning, but supply chain as well, and really see where companies are going. Collaborative planning kind of represents the evolution of how historical partners work together and how they can gain even more benefit working together in the future and start sharing information enabled with technology, enabled with different types of mindsets that we're trying to establish between cultural mindsets between the two organizations. The goal, no matter what you're trying to do, is the efficient and effective operations by enabling joint business processes across enterprise boundaries. That's what we're trying to accomplish. That is basically what the definition we're looking at. It's to enhance our efficiencies, our operations, the effective operations by enabling joint business processes across the enterprise boundaries. And I said with this, it really goes from that inside-out thinking that most organizations are stuck in. Most planning is stuck in to an outside-in thinking. When you're looking at an inside-out thinking, that's really where all my view is happening with, most of my view is happening within the own 4 walls. I get an order from a customer. That's the signal that I'm getting. I send a order to my suppliers. That's the signal that communication I'm giving to my suppliers. Yeah, you may get a forecast and you may send a forecast out, but it's really use of it, format of it, little attention is really given beyond just I'm doing you a favor by sending this, or you're giving me this and I'm supposed to look at your forecast and assume that is right. Most of what we do is inside our 4 walls. We're building things based on our own internal constraints, on what we think the forecast is going to be in the future, and we build it and put it in stock and tell you to come buy this. That's how an inside-out thinking looks. Outside-in thinking, where it goes from the customer, not your customer, the customer's customer, the end user. What are they looking? Why are they buying? Try to understand the consumer, bringing that information in. Driving more to the demand and what's happening in the market. That being your pull instead of pushing your product out to the market. And likewise with the suppliers, communicating with them to understand what constraints you actually have. What are real constraints and what other capabilities you might be able to do. From a supply, different levers you can pull. Whatever other levers do you have options to? So it's working with your suppliers and understanding their capabilities, understanding their constraints as well, sending them better signals. So it's an end-to-end type of thought process to provide a different view of where you are and what you're doing. It's focusing outside of your four walls and really more of a different type of push-pull type of model, where internal thinking is purely type requirements based. Here's my requirements I'm going to build. Here's the requirements I'm going to have pulled from me as far as from sales. This is requirements based. External thinking is more of opportunities based. What can we do? What opportunities do we have to work together? It's more of an opportunities oriented type of thought process. Internal thinking is really focused on the factors only that are driving your forecast, factors only that's driving an order. Where external thinking is really limitless. Looking at your own shipment history, here's the shipments that I've done, or even order history. This is the order history that customers have ordered from me. That's still driving in the rearview mirror. I know we like to say we forecast, but in essence, that's still driving in the rearview mirror. We're looking at historic orders and trying to find those isolated patterns of level trend seasonality, isolate those patterns and extrapolate those patterns going forward. Guess what? That's rear view mirror still. And that's internal factors only. External factors would be other types of leading indicators, macroeconomics, micro type of information about your consumers, things that are maybe leading indicators that can tell you something before it occurs with a probability that it's going to occur. Those are limitless factors once you start trying to understand your markets better, what drives the markets, what drives the consumers. Because basically what we are forecasting are not numbers. We're not forecasting numbers. When you look at the impact of COVID, impact of pricing, impact of these promotions that we do, why is there impact? Not because we have a 10% lift on doing this and this goes. No, those numbers are consumer behaviors. The consumers are reacting to price. The consumers react to promotion. The consumers react to COVID. The consumers react to external factors. Understanding how the consumers react better allows you to plan inside. That's the outside in thinking. There's limitless factors there. Internal thinking really is forecasting sales. External thinking is really predicting drivers and behaviors. Internal is going to tell us what you want them to buy, where externally it tells you what they want, tells you when the consumer is going to buy, why the consumers are buying. We're looking at order materials based on internal requirements. Now, supplies based on true customer demand. It's more demand driven. Supply is what you have now as well. Internally, providing an output or an answer. Externally, it provides insights, solutions. Internally, it's reactive to historic data only. Externally, it's proactive to leading indicators. It's a different mindset that we have, and that's really what I'm pushing for. So collaborative planning comes from an outside-in mindset. When you start opening yourself up to, there's things happening outside my four walls. I'm not just dealing with numbers. I'm dealing with an economy. I'm dealing with competition. I'm dealing with consumers. Then you start with an outside-in thinking. So when you're looking at some of the principles then of collaborative planning, and I said, I don't get hung up on the title. You can call it CPFR, as a lot of companies do. We can call it CPFR. I'm fine with that. Call it whatever you want. I don't get hung up on acronyms. But some of the guiding principles, no matter what we're going to call it, is number one, we're looking for value here. We're getting as close to true demand as possible. Leading indicators, understanding consumers, trying to figure out what's driving the end user. That's where you're going to drive more and more value internally and across the entire supply chain. It's all about collaboration. It's working with your trading partners jointly across the enterprises. It's to connect functional capabilities, forecast with forecast, supply with supply, logistics with logistics, top management with top management. Connecting as many points of contact as you can across enterprises to really start planning jointly. Collaboration. The more collaboration we get, the less bias, the better signal, more accountability. It improves, and you can find the gaps a lot quicker. Just across the board, collaboration works. It's also about consensus. You're working with your trading partners to develop a single shared forecast. So everything's driven off of the forecast. Every business decision is driven off of a forward-looking prediction. They're making decisions. You're making decisions. Having that joint signal of this is what we think is going to happen helps as far as drive us in the same direction and helps with those communication, helps with being able to film it a lot better. And guess what? This works with your supplier as well. Joint collaboration with them, shared forecast with them as well. It's about transparency. Your trading partners jointly commit to sharing planning. It's not trying to game the system to get a one-up on them or holding things back because you're afraid they're going to use it against you. The more transparency you have, the better the working relationship you're going to end up with. And finally, it's that outside-in thinking. Trading partners have visibility to external drivers. They have visibility to jointly sharing information. Those are some of the key principles: the value, collaboration, consensus, transparency, and that outside-in thinking. With that, there is benefit here as well. There's a lot of benefit. You're going to reduce your forecast error. You're going to be able to plan better, uncertainty better, which means you're going to have more efficiency. You can reduce your cost, manage your inventory better. You're going to be able to service them better, and you're going to be able to have more visibility, less stockouts, things of that sort. And for your customer, there's true value there as well. They can better plan promotions. They can better commit to their end users. They can save money, do things more efficiently. They can plan better. They can reduce their error because they understand they can make commitments better. All those things are benefits to your customer. And you truly believe there is value for your customer. That's the reason why you want to share. It's not a one-sided, and that's one of the keys here too. Collaborative planning is not a one-sided, it's just something for you. There's something in it for both you. And if there's not, then you're not going to have a collaborative relationship. So really, you both see value in this process is the reason you're doing the process. And you truly believe there's value there for your customer, and you know there's value there for you if you can start getting this information, if you can start building these, connecting the dots, building these connections with the other enterprise to be able to get information, see how they plan, know what they're thinking, and plan together. So there's really value on both sides. Now, just a moment. I want to talk to you because I see a lot of organizations that are guilty of this out there. They're fully with me on this. You may be listening to this podcast, or maybe you're even watching. Thank you for the 12 people. So you might be watching, you might be listening, and all this, you're shaking your head going, yes, this is what I've been saying. I agree. And the problem is half of you out there, the other 6 of you out there, I lose you with this next statement. Because you truly believe it, there's something in it for your customer if they share information with you. That they can get things quicker, get things better. They can reduce their inventory. They can service their customers better. Everything is an advantage to them. And you preach this to them, and you don't understand why they don't partner with you. Well, how many of you have that same exact relationship with your suppliers? How many of you have went to your suppliers openly and said, I want to share because I know I'm going to get benefits from this if I share information with you? It works both ways. And guess what? Research has shown, and my experience has shown, that it does work the same way. All the benefits you're preaching that the customer is going to get, guess what you get when you start having these open conversations with your supplier. When you start collaborating, when you start building consensus plans, when you start being transparent, when you start thinking outside in thinking and start working and helping them see an outside in view, bringing you into their planning process then as well, it brings value. It brings value to your customers, which is then in turn going to bring value to the end user. That's where we really need to be. It needs to work both directions, and that is collaborative planning from an end-to-end perspective, and really what we need to work to. I get there's challenges there. There's people saying, well, we would, but you're asking a whole lot now. I get it. I understand. There's resistance to change. There's resistance to data sharing. Sometimes it's a cultural thing. Sometimes it's love to share my data, but I'm afraid if I give too much information, this, too much information, that. History has shown me and research has shown that's not the case. But I understand there's a cultural mindset sometimes with executives and others that they're scared to share information. I know some people very well that's fear of getting too much information out and they're going to use it against us and things of that sort. I understand. There's a fear. We need to work on that fear. We need to start understanding the benefits. Start small, build a pilot and work from there. Start with what you do trust you can share and then start building a relationship. Because this is a relationship you are building with the other with the other enterprise. So it will take time to really build the confidence and trust on both sides. Because honestly, that culture is you don't trust the other company. Well, they may not trust you. You have to mutually build that trust. The other part's the technology side. If I'm sharing information, I may have a cost of storing it, doing something with this data, being able to have a way to transmit it. There may be IT infrastructural costs, changes, ongoing that need to be done to data infrastructure. Yes, that is true. They're minimal over time. And as far as technology has enabled a lot of that right now with algorithms and capabilities, you don't have to be proficient data architect now to do some of these rudimentary, easier things to do with data as far as being able to share. You also, other challenges is companies need to have an effective process with your external partner. You have to have some type of relationship to start building upon. If you have no other relationship with it of just sharing an order back and forth, you really need to start building that relationships first before you start asking for a bunch of information and start doing all. You're going to scare them what it is. So, and then the last thing is what's in it for me thought process. Once again, it's a cultural thing, but too many people go into the collaborative planning and they still, even though they can talk the talk of an outside in type of thought process of, yeah, we want to get this data, we want to look at this from the outside, and they can talk the talk outside in, but ultimately in their heart, they're still inside out type of people, because when you really press them upon it, it comes, what's in it for me? They don't understand the value is what's in it for the network, which includes your customer, which includes your supplier, because that benefits you. So the what's in it for me is just a cultural aspect we have to work through. You have to see the value of that rising tide. You have to see the value of improving your customer, improving your supplier, and you see the improvement with it. Some of the major keys to success is choosing the right strategic partner. The right one may not be the biggest. It's the right one. It's the one that you can share some principles with, share some different core types of planning with already. They may already have a VMI process. They have an established S&OP process. You do as well, and you can work together. So it's the right strategic partner, the one that has the right culture, ready to work with you. Maybe it shares a certain types of industry that is perfect for this. Whatever it would be, find the right strategic partner. Trust and transparency is key in this. In that, I mean, it's in essence you're dating, is what it is. And I said you can't call someone up you've never met, never seen, call them and say, I want this. You're never gonna. They're gonna hang up the phone on you. Showing my age, hanging up the phone on you. But what you're going to do is you're going to meet the person. You're going to get to know them. They're going to get to know you. You're going to become a little vulnerable. They're going to become a little vulnerable. It's almost like dating. Now, believe me, I know I'm no expert on when it comes to that, but I am an expert when it comes to building collaborative relationships in the business world. And I have a lot of successes, and it truly is a journey. There was one company I worked with. We were building a collaborative relationship. And they were representative of a good chunk of our business, and we wanted to work with them. So we actually went to their location. Executives, some planning team, met with them. Executives, planning team, spent the day with them. Learned how they do some metrics and found out the way they measure our service on time and full was different than the way we measured it. So their perception of how we were delivering was different than our perception. Here's just one easy find we did just by talking that day. But we also found some challenges they had. We found out that they were committing based on our, when we were going to ship into them, they were making commitments. So it was impacting their customers. And we've seen how it impacted their customers and the ways they were trying to do workarounds for that. We understood their planning a little bit better talking with them. We also, after that, said, hey, why don't you give us some POS data? Give us some your customer information, sales information. Get us that. We're going to be able to improve your service if you do this. Now, I don't know if just because we were paying more attention to them or we were going to improve their service no matter what, but guess what? They started providing us some sales data and their service did improve. It should improve too because we had a little more visibility, but really we didn't have enough information. But their service did improve. We did follow through. They were a little bit vulnerable with us. We were a little bit vulnerable with us, them saying service is going to improve. Guess what? Both of us came through. Now we can build on that relationship. Going back saying, can we get your inventory positions? Knowing your inventory is going to help us a little bit. Great. We now know their inventory. We improved their service a little bit more. We found out they were ordering once a week. We had a milk run going by their, a truck going by their locations 2 times a week. Hey, if you order twice a week, we could now deliver you. We're getting closer to actual orders. We can optimize our transportation. They lower their inventory. The only thing they had to do was order twice a week instead of once a week. It was a win-win situation. Within 18 months, we were jointly launching a new product together. So the new product, both of us worked together on a new product launch. They had exclusivity for the first 6 months. Only they would carry it for the first 6 months. Win for them. It was the most successful launch in both organizations' history because of the collaborative relationship that took well over a year to really build to that place. It was a journey. It was a relationship you were building over time. We didn't get married on day 2. It took us a while to really build that relationship. And then finally, focus on the market. What's in it for everyone going across the board? What's in it for you? What's in it for them? What's in it for everyone? You really need to focus across the board. Well, that's a wrap. And that does it for this show. Thanks for collaborating with me on this one, watching and listening. My name is Eric Wilson. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. Thank Arkiva, driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. And as I said, I'm here in Kentucky. I'm going to come out of my bunker March 29th and 30th. I want to see you at Gatton College of Business Supply Chain Forum. Check that out. It's like our 14th year. It's a great conference. It's a local conference to do with international speakers coming to speak at it. So it's a great opportunity, 29th and 30th. It's a low-price conference, great on supply chain. We're also going to be in New Orleans, IBF, on April 25th through the 27th. Predictive Analytics Conference, practitioners sharing their best practice. Always look forward to this conference every April. We're going to be back in New Orleans, so check you out there. And by the way, if you wanted to collaborate, I am open to collaborate. Hey, let me know what you want to do. But also with this show, let me know what you want to see, what you want to hear, who you want me to talk to going forward. Comment down below. Send me an email, eric@ibf.org, whatever you want to do. Let me know what you want to see going forward. And remember, when you're collaborating or around a lot of people, don't forget, wash your hands. I got my producer and cameraman doing yoga and contortion back here.
Don't try this at home.